Elon Musk is not just a billionaire tech mogul. He's quietly becoming an international power broker that makes or breaks nations. While most people see him as a visionary engineer, behind the scenes, he's negotiating with governments, influencing wars and making decisions that impact global security. Many believe Musk is only focused on rockets, AI, and electric cars. But the reality is, his companies, Tesla, SpaceX, and especially Starlink, are deeply intertwined with global politics. His technology decides who gets internet access during wars. His rockets are the backbone of U.S. military operations in space. And his words? They can shake stock or crypto markets and even influence foreign policies. And here's the part no one is talking about. If political conditions shift in his favor, Musk could have more power than most elected officials, without ever running for office. What happens when one billionaire has more influence than entire governments? This is the rise of Elon Musk as a power broker. Elon Musk's rise to political influence wasn't sudden. It was strategic. Before he became a major geopolitical force, he built relationships in the right places. And it started with two of the world's biggest powers, the United States and China. In 2017, Musk was invited to join President Trump's Business Advisory Council, alongside top CEOs like Jeff Bezos and Tim Cook. This wasn't just a symbolic position. This council advised the White House on economic and business policies worth trillions. But Musk was careful. Unlike other corporate allies, he never fully embraced Trump. He advised on tax policies and deregulation that benefited Tesla and SpaceX. But when Trump withdrew from the Paris Climate Agreement, Musk immediately resigned from the council. This wasn't just about climate change. It was a strategic move. By staying close to power without being directly attached, Musk ensured Tesla's $7.5 billion in federal EV tax credits remained intact, while keeping his brand image clean. While Musk played politics carefully in the US, his strategy in China was completely different. Unlike other American tech giants that were banned or forced to comply with strict regulations, Musk was given unprecedented access. The Chinese government granted Tesla something no other foreign automaker had ever received: 100% ownership of its factory, bypassing the mandatory joint venture rule that applied to companies like GM and Ford. Why? Because Tesla's success aligned with China's long-term interests. The Chinese government wanted to dominate the electric vehicle market by 2035, and Musk's technology was the perfect stepping stone. In return, Tesla received $1.6 billion in low-interest loans, massive tax breaks, and near zero tariffs on Chinese-made Teslas. This wasn't just a business success, it was political leverage. Because now Tesla wasn't just dependent on China. China was dependent on Tesla. Musk's political influence didn't just come from diplomacy. It came from something much stronger: leverage. Because by the early 2020s, SpaceX wasn't just a private company anymore. It was a key player in U.S. military infrastructure. For decades, the U.S. military relied on legacy defense contractors. But then came SpaceX, offering launch costs that were 40% cheaper than Boeing and Lockheed Martin. The government quickly shifted. By 2022, over 60% of U.S. military satellites were being launched by SpaceX. Then came Starlink. Originally designed for civilian internet, it became a critical tool for military operations. During the Ukraine war, it provided secure battlefield communications when Russian cyber attacks shut down traditional networks. Governments don't just work with Musk, they depend on him. The Pentagon needs his rockets, Europe needs his satellites, China needs his technology, and that dependency gives him more political influence than most world leaders. And that's the moment the balance of power shifted. Because when a private citizen becomes too critical to fail, the question isn't whether he influences politics, it's how far his influence will go. Elon Musk may not be a president, a general, or a diplomat, But when war broke out in Ukraine, he became one of the most important figures in the conflict. As Russian cyber attacks crippled Ukraine's communication networks, Musk activated Starlink, restoring internet access and giving the Ukrainian military an advantage on the battlefield. It was a game changer. Over 42,000 Starlink terminals were deployed to Ukraine, ensuring uninterrupted battlefield communication. But then, Musk made a decision that sparked controversy across the world. Months into the war, Ukraine planned a major offensive against Russian forces in Crimea, but at the last moment, Starlink stopped working. The decision wasn't made by NATO, the Pentagon, or Ukraine's military. It was made by Elon Musk. And it wasn't a small-scale decision. This affected the movements of over 20,000 Ukrainian troops. His reasoning? He didn't want Starlink to be used for escalation, claiming he was preventing World War III. But critics argued he had no right to make that decision. Should a billionaire have the power to decide military strategy? Ukrainian officials accused Musk of indirectly helping Russia by limiting battlefield communications. Even US senators demanded answers. Who gave Musk the authority to override military decisions? Was Musk acting independently, or was he under external pressure? Some suspected the US government quietly influenced his decision. Others pointed to Musk's business ties with China and even Russia, questioning if economic interests were at play. One thing was clear: this wasn't just a business decision. It was a geopolitical power move. Elon Musk had effectively decided who gets access to the internet in a war zone, something that used to be controlled only by governments. The Pentagon spends $900 million annually on military satellite communications. But in Ukraine, one billionaire had more power over the digital battlefield than the US. Department of Defense. This moment proved Musk was no longer just a businessman. He was an unelected global power broker. And if he could influence a war in Ukraine, what else could he decide? Taiwan? The Middle East? The next world crisis? Elon Musk claims to be politically neutral, but his business decisions tell a different story. As he expands Tesla and SpaceX, Musk finds himself caught in a dangerous balancing act between the United States and its biggest rival, China. His companies operate in both nations, but as tensions rise between Washington and Beijing, Musk's influence has become a growing concern for US officials. In 2023, the Biden administration launched an inquiry into Musk's growing ties with China. The Pentagon, intelligence agencies, and lawmakers all raised the same question: can the US trust Musk? For years, China has been Tesla's lifeline, providing subsidies, land grants, and a near monopoly in the world's largest EV market. But this dependence has given Beijing leverage over Musk. Unlike other automakers, Tesla received special treatment in China. No foreign car company has been allowed to operate independently, except Tesla. And now, US officials are asking, why? China isn't just Tesla's biggest market, it controls its supply chain. Despite holding less than 7% of the world's lithium reserves, China has managed to secure an 80% share of global lithium chemical production. Tesla relies on China for everything from rare earth metals to chip manufacturing. If China wanted to, it could cut off Tesla's battery supply overnight, crippling its operations. But instead, Beijing sees Musk as too valuable to lose. They don't just tolerate him, they protect him. And here's the real question: what does China get in return? Some analysts believe Beijing is strategically embedding itself in Tesla, not just to dominate the EV market, but for something bigger. Tesla vehicles aren't just cars, they're data hubs on wheels. Each Tesla comes equipped with dozens of sensors, cameras, and real-time location tracking. Officially, these features are for safety and autonomy. But what if they could be used for something else? Imagine a scenario where every Tesla could be a potential surveillance device. Millions of Teslas, strategically placed across the US, Europe, and China, collecting data, mapping roads, and even identifying military bases. This isn't science fiction. In 2021, the Chinese military banned Tesla vehicles from entering military installations, citing concerns that their cameras could be used for spying. If China saw Tesla as a potential security threat, why shouldn't the US? And if a Tesla can collect intelligence, what else could it do? Could the software in every vehicle be remotely accessed? Could it be shut down? Or worse, could it be weaponized? Every Tesla is connected to the internet. Every Tesla receives remote software updates. That means, in theory, Tesla, or anyone with the right access, could modify the behavior of every vehicle on the road simultaneously. What if, during a geopolitical crisis, a hidden kill switch could disable millions of cars in an instant? What if every Tesla could suddenly shut down on highways, or be redirected to specific locations? This isn't just paranoia. In 2023, the US government openly warned that Chinese-made EVs could be used for mass surveillance, or even as cyber weapons. And Tesla, with its deep ties to China, is uniquely positioned in this debate. If an adversary gained access to Tesla's systems, they wouldn't need missiles or tanks to cripple an economy, just a single line of code. And with China deeply embedded in Tesla's supply chain, who really controls the software inside these vehicles? Musk walks a fine line. Unlike Apple, Google, or even Boeing, Musk has access to both Washington and Beijing. He's one of the only US executives who can meet with Chinese leaders without restrictions. And that gives him an unmatched advantage. When China banned Facebook, Google, and countless Western companies, Tesla was the exception. While the US cracks down on Chinese tech giants like Huawei, Musk is still invited into Beijing's most exclusive circles. Why? Some believe it's because Tesla helps China dominate the EV industry. Others say Beijing is using Musk as a strategic asset, giving him benefits in exchange for his silence on key issues. In 2022, Musk proposed that Taiwan should become a special administrative zone of China, a statement that mirrored Beijing's stance exactly. Was this just Musk's opinion, or was he aligning with the hand that feeds him? This is the reality of Musk's diplomatic tightrope. He's too valuable to China to be shut out, and too powerful in the US to be ignored. But how long can he keep playing both sides? Unlike other billionaires, Musk isn't just building businesses. He's shaping global power structures. And the deeper his ties grow with China, the more the US has to ask. Is Elon Musk still working in America's best interests? Elon Musk has often been called a visionary, an innovator, even a genius. But at what point does a visionary become something more? A ruler? A power broker? A force beyond government control? Step by step, industry by industry, Musk has positioned himself at the center of global infrastructure. Transportation, energy, defense, communication, and even human intelligence itself. But what happens when the world's most critical technologies no longer belong to nations, but to one man? There was a time when space was controlled by governments. NASA, Roscosmos, the European Space Agency. But today, space doesn't belong to nations. It belongs to Elon Musk. By 2025, SpaceX is expected to control nearly 70% of all commercial spaceflight. No other company, even China's government-run space program, comes close. And for the US military, there is no alternative. Without SpaceX, America's space operations would grind to a halt. This isn't just about launching rockets. It's about controlling the infrastructure that powers modern warfare. If Musk decided tomorrow to cut SpaceX's military contracts, the Pentagon would have no immediate replacement. Governments don't just work with Musk, they depend on him. In the 21st century, power isn't just measured in weapons or territory, it's measured in data. and Starlink is quietly becoming the backbone of global communication. With over 5,200 satellites in orbit, more than any government-operated network, Musk now controls the largest independent communication system on Earth. And if governments don't like it, he can turn it off. If Starlink can decide who gets internet during war, what's stopping Musk from using it to influence global politics? Could an entire country be disconnected with the flip of a switch? If Musk's empire ended with rockets and satellites, that would be enough. But it doesn't. His next goal is not just to connect the world, but to control how we interact with it. The Tesla Optimus robot, Neuralink brain chips, and Musk's influence over OpenAI all lead to the same question. What happens when technology doesn't just change the world around us, but changes us? Musk isn't just building electric cars anymore. He's building robots to replace the people who make them. Tesla's Optimus is expected to replace over 10 million jobs by 2035, reshaping entire industries. First, they'll handle factory work, then customer service. Eventually, they'll replace cashiers, security guards, and even caregivers. The workforce of the future may not be human at all. This isn't speculation. It's happening right now. Tesla has already begun integrating Optimus into its factories. The more advanced AI becomes, the more human workers become obsolete. But when one man owns the robots that replace human labor, does he also control the economy? What happens when entire industries rely on Musk's technology? Not governments, not businesses, but one private individual. Musk has already connected the world through satellites. But now he wants to connect the human brain directly to technology. Neuralink isn't just another biotech startup. It's the first real step toward merging humans with AI. Imagine being able to control your phone, your car, or even an Optimus robot just by thinking. That's Musk's vision. But what happens when the technology advances beyond control? What happens when thoughts can be read or rewritten?
Thoughts can be rewritten.
Neuralink's early trials promised to cure paralysis and neurological diseases, but in the wrong hands. Could it be used for something else? Could thoughts be implanted? Could memories be altered? The Department of Defense has already warned about brain-machine interfaces being the next battlefield in cyber warfare. If Musk controls the most advanced brain chip technology, does he also control human decision-making? AI is the most powerful technology in human history. It can replace workers, it can fight wars. It can create or manipulate reality itself. And right now, Musk controls more AI-driven projects than any government. He's not just shaping AI, he's shaping its ethics, its risks, and its limits. The question isn't just whether Musk is right about AI's dangers. The question is, should one man have the power to decide how AI is used? If he controls AI's safety regulations, doesn't he also control its potential for destruction? Musk controls space. He controls global communication. He controls AI, robotics, and even the human mind. And for the first time in history, governments may no longer be the most powerful force in the world. So we have to ask ourselves, is Musk still a businessman? Or has he become something more? A ruler? A king without a throne? Or the first true power beyond government control?